The healing journey can be deeply profound and rewarding. We let go of what no longer fits and learn boundaries, develop self respect, and cultivate real self love. Healing matters, it's necessary. But for me, I'm not really on a healing journey anymore. I'm on an expansion journey. I'm listening to the still small voice within, the voice of my true self. And instead of trying to correct or fix myself, I'm allowing that voice to guide my life because somewhere along the way, I realized something important. I wasn't broken. There was never anything to fix. What was broken was this idea that my life needed to fit inside systems that were never designed for who I am. I spent years trying to put the square peg of my life into the round hole of traditional society. I tried to make it work. I tried to contort myself, to adapt, and to comply, and it never worked. Eventually, I grew tired of believing that I was the problem. I'm not, and neither are you. We didn't come here to be cookie-cutter duplicates of a dysfunctional system. We came here to challenge it, not by rebelling against the system, but by aligning with the life that we are truly meant to live. Through living differently, through refusing to abandon ourselves in order to belong. Hi, I'm Kaleah, and this is the FlameWalker Podcast, where I help you to stand in the fire of truth while illusions and distortions burn away. And here's the truth that I've been standing in. Only months into launching this podcast, something started chipping away at me. A calling toward a different kind of life, one that doesn't promise the kind of stability that we are taught to chase, but offers something else instead: freedom, simplicity, sovereignty. And I had to face something uncomfortable. What I once called security was actually dependence, and what I once called stability was often just compliance. True stability doesn't come from structures outside of ourselves. It comes from within. Because when you begin to walk the FlameWalker path, your own life will keep pulling you deeper into truth. Not just spiritual truth, practical truth. How you live, where you live, what you give your energy and attention to. For me, that truth showed up clearly when I started questioning the idea of ownership, especially home ownership. I believed, like many of us were taught, that buying a home would bring security. I chose a 30-year fixed mortgage because I wanted predictability and stability. But then the taxes went up. The insurance went up. My home was suddenly declared to be in a flood zone where it wasn't when I bought it. And now my taxes and insurance cost more than the mortgage itself. There's no such thing as a fixed mortgage because in order to have a mortgage, you need to also submit to taxes and insurance. And those costs are not up to you. They are decided for you. So I thought, maybe I'll simplify. Maybe I'll buy a small piece of land and live in my RV on my own terms. But here's the reality that I ran into, is that you can't live on your own land the way that you want to, even in the middle of nowhere, because of regulations, the systems, the permissions that you have to have, the hoops that you have to jump through. You're expected to build, and you're expected to build within a certain constraint or square footage, depending on the zoning. Even in the most permissive counties, you're expected to live on your land the way the system deems acceptable, not the way that actually supports a simple, sustainable life. And once you build a structure, even a tiny one, it needs to be on a foundation in most places, which makes it taxable, which ties me right back into the same system that I was trying to step out of. When I really started asking why we aren't allowed to live on our own land the way that we want to, the answer kept pointing back to the same thing: protecting property values through uniformity. The system works best when everyone looks the same, builds the same, and lives the same. Anything outside that creates discomfort, complaints, and pressure to conform. But what if you're trying to unplug from the system? What if you're tired of playing games that never leads you to peace in the first place? That's where I found myself. I'm done with the little boxes all in a row, all made of ticky-tacky. I'm done with homes that enslave instead of support. I'm done trying to fit into a life that consistently asks me to betray myself. I'm wired for a simpler, more mobile, more unconventional way of living. And the moment that I stopped fighting that, my nervous system started to relax. So if you just want a simple, easy life without a lot of expenses, debt, or complications, it can be really difficult to create because our system is designed to keep us trapped in the box. Whether that box is your house, your job, your debt, or even your relationship. And here's where the shift happened for me. I've never felt as free as I did living in my RV, parked at the base of a mountain overlooking a wild river with everything I needed right there with me. I didn't miss the house that I left behind because it was just a house. What I loved was if the weather was too hot or too cold, I could move. If my neighbors were too noisy, I could leave. Everywhere I went, I was home because home traveled with me. And right now, that's still legal. You can live full time in an RV. You can travel. You can move. You can choose. And that tells us something important. The reason RV life and van life have exploded and become so popular isn't just about adventure. It's about affordability. It's about sovereignty. It's about people quietly trying to exit a system that no longer works for them. So let me ask you this. Why do we assume that we are broken when we don't fit into society's mold? Why do we feel like we're falling behind when we can't keep up? Why do we think we need to heal when maybe what we really need to do is let go? I used to say to people recovering from narcissistic abuse, "You're not broken. The narcissist is." And I'll say the same thing here. You're not broken. You're trying to survive inside a broken system. And many of us are waking up to that truth at the same time. I feel this conversation is an important one to have. And I want to share my journey with you so you will get to know me a little bit better and know who I am and what drives a lot of the things that I talk about in the FlameWalker podcast. Because being a FlameWalker has required me to stand in my own truth, even when it meant letting go of what is comfortable, safe, and familiar. What are some of the lies that you have been living under that you're telling yourself? And what do you struggle with currently? Can you relate to the challenges of rising cost, lack of affordable options, and pressure to conform to a system that has outgrown its form? If so, I'd love to hear from you in the comments. And while we stand here today in the flame of truth, maybe it's time to stop trying to fix ourselves and start asking a different question. What would a life built around freedom actually look like? Thank you for being with me today, and I will see you in the next podcast. Namaste.